Have you ever loaded up Cities Skylines and wanted to build an airport but been absolutely terrified of the airport's DLC? Well, you're in luck. My name is Pilot Build Cities, but you can call me Pilot, and today I'm going to show you how to build an airport with ease. We're building on the Noyu port map, which comes with the airport DLC. Today we'll be building an airport around 4 key discussion points. First, picking an area. What is the wind direction or strength? What do we need to consider for noise abatement? Noise abatement is the procedures established or the airport design to minimize noise impact on the local community. And terrain considerations. What kind of obstacles exist? Next, we'll dive into designing the airport. We'll look at the apron area, then the runway orientation for noise abatement or wind direction and speed. And finally, the tower location. We're going to find the best place for the tower to be for the visibility of the airport environment. Third, we'll look at creating the terminal area and surrounding infrastructure such as mass transit, parking, car rentals, etc. And finally, the detailing do's and don'ts. Hello again everyone and welcome to the Airports DLC guide. My name is Pilot Build Cities, you can call me Pilot, and let's get started on building our airport. So our first discussion point is picking an area. The first thing we're going to look at is our wind direction or strength. In Cities Skylines 1 we don't have wind direction, so we just have wind strength. Looking at this, we can see there's quite a lot of wind strength right here in this area, so I think this is going to be a good place to build an airport. Depending on airport design, runway length, and surrounding areas, having a bit of a shorter runway in an area with lots of wind can help with takeoff and landing performance. So go ahead and unlock this first tile here, and we'll fit our airport probably within this whole tile. Next, we need to consider our noise abatement procedures. So looking at our runway and our area, if we build kind of towards this area, we may be looking at building more over the town. As you can see, the highway does come into here, so the city would likely be located here. If we look at a runway orientation of maybe this way, this will bring aircraft over the water and down in for landing. And for taking off, we could do the same thing going this way and maybe out over this highway, or maybe it's a little less built up. So I think that'll be a good place to start. And finally, if we look at our terrain, coming into our terrain map, we can see that it's mostly flat in this area. The approach to the runway is all nice and flat and over water, and as well, looking the other way, there is a lot of mountains, but we could have some procedures in place in real life to help us turn away from the terrain before we get too close to it. So let's start building our airport. First, we're going to get our airport area, and we'll paint a whole area in here. Now this does use up quite a bit of soil, but if we kind of keep it mostly at the same height, it should work out fairly well for us. The tool does flatten the terrain as well as remove any trees, which is great. In real life, in terms of realism, runways aren't always perfectly flat, and neither are taxiways. Speaking from my own experience, yeah, we've had to get a little creative trying to get places sometimes going either uphill on taxiways or certain runways. You have to contend with the slope of it for its takeoff performance, and that can also create some issues. So, anyways, it's City Skylines and it's a video game, so that's okay. Now that we have our airport area in, I always like to start with my runway, because I think that's the first thing you can kind of work backwards from. If you start with a terminal or anything else or taxiways, you're gonna get yourself kind of caught trying to squeeze everything in. So we'll take the runway and we'll run it this way, just like we kind of discussed for our noise abatement and wind direction. And we'll take it out to 220 units. Now your runway length can be varied. With the minimum I think is about 50 or 51 or something like that. And if you take a look at this runway, it's very short, so you're not going to get very far with this. So longer is definitely better. It does give you more option into what kind of aircraft can take off and land at your airport. But yeah, we'll start with a nice long runway here. So for our taxiways, for City Skylines, the runways and taxiways are all one way, which again, realism-wise isn't totally accurate. They are bidirectional in real life, but we can work with that. So we'll come out about I think 9 or 8 units is pretty good, because we want to consider some wingtip clearance. So we'll run this straight along down to the other side of the runway, and then we'll just come out the other way another 8 and have one that goes the other direction. And again, this is a very good basic starting point for your taxiway system, and then you can kind of further change it from there. So with our taxiways in place, let's grab a terminal. We're going to start with the modern airport terminal, and we'll just start with the single level one and keep it nice and simple, and we'll place it quite far away from the apron to begin with. Next we'll grab some concourse, and again we can be pretty generous with this. Make it as big as you want if you've got the space. You know, if you've got some constraints in space, you definitely have to make that change for yourself. And next we'll place up our gates. So for our gates, we'll get a few different options. We'll take the small aircraft stand to start with, and when we come up here nice and close, we'll just look at some of our spacing here. So if we place that one there, and then maybe this one here. Looking at the design of these, it's really nice that they've included what we call the aircraft buffer zone, and it's this red and white line here. And this basically marks out where the aircraft wingtips will be when the airplane is parked. And so you want to leave some space so that ground service vehicles can drive in between here. If they're too close, they have to drive under the wing, and that does kind of risk damage to the aircraft, so you want to give them some nice space. And a little detailing trick learned from Few Candy. These aircraft stands don't have jet bridges, so if you want to remove the concourse, you can. They still function. And you could simulate the idea of ground loading for maybe smaller aircraft like turboprops or small regional jets. But moving on to the rest of our airport, we can also grab a couple medium gates. And again, we'll do the same thing. We'll try and leave some space for some ground service equipment to get through. And then if we slide down further, we'll also do some larger gates. And the great thing is we left ourselves a lot of space. So that we have all our gates in place, we can kind of take a look at our concourse and trim off everything that we're not using. So we'll take it off right up to about there. Now for our apron design, the best thing I find is to not connect up all the gates together. And what I mean by that is don't just make a straight line all the way across like so and then just call it a day. You can do that, but we want to give the aircraft a lot of different options for maneuvering. Now in the real life scenario, you would basically probably come in and you'd have a taxiway, we'll run one here to about there and it would stop. And maybe you would have another one down here as an entrance and it would stop, and this whole area would just be concrete and you could kind of free move into your different gates. But again, Cities Skylines, a few limitations with that. So what we'll do is we'll run a taxiway down this way, and then if we come out 8 units again, we'll run one in opposite direction. And that just gives us the option for some maneuvering. So if we connect our taxiways into here, and then we just basically give ourselves lots of options for aircraft to maneuver in and out. And they don't need to be straight. It's kind of a common misconception that you need them to be all straight. They will function perfectly fine without that. Aircraft have what's called a tiller, and that means it can turn on its own, turn its nose wheel on its own and maneuver that way. So it definitely does give you more options in terms of your taxiway design because they don't have to be perfectly straight. And honestly, here we're going maybe slightly overboard in terms of the directionality, but yeah, we can definitely even simplify it down if we take a look at our taxiways. So the aircraft can come all the way down here, and let's turn these ones around, and this could be an entrance in, and we'll keep that one as an entrance in, and then we can actually just remove this middle one here, and then flip this one around, and that can be our exit off. And that does kind of take it down a little bit, so it's not too complicated. And then yeah, we'll just add in one more maybe from here, so we can take that out to there as an exit, and we'll give one more entrance in for the large aircraft gates. Next, you can place some aprons if you like. Like I mentioned, this is usually all concrete here, and so you can just place them wherever you want to sort of cover everything up. Keep in mind they do snap to networks, so they can be a bit finicky sometimes. If you're playing modded, you can definitely use Move It or Surface Painter if you want instead. Or if you have the new replacements for the brush tool, that's also an option for you as well. But yeah, we'll just get a couple aprons here, nicely covered. So next we want to look at placing our airport tower, and the very important thing is that the tower needs to have visibility of the whole airport. So we do have this nice space kind of right here in the middle, and I'm just going to use some modding and turn off collision there to get that placed there. And so if we zoom in, basically the tower here, it's going to have full visibility of all the gates for aircraft maneuvering on the apron. They have full visibility of all the taxiways for the ground controllers, and the tower controller has full visibility of the runway. There's also different airport facilities off airport property for controlling aircraft on their arrival into an airport, but for the sake of the airport DLC, we'll keep it to the tower for today. So next we're going to look at our infrastructure out front. And what we'll do is we'll maybe just grab ourselves a little bit more of a pad here. And then what we'll also do maybe is just get ourselves a bit of space over here on this side that's also the same height. And then please ignore the services I snuck in real quick off camera, but yeah, we'll just smooth ourselves out with the slope terrain tool for the highway here. And in front of your airport, you can keep it pretty basic. Again, if you're playing not modded, then you unfortunately the game gives you these two-way roads at the front, but I think one way is probably better. If we come out, we'll keep it nice and simple. 10 units on that side, 10 units on the other side, and then if we just come up 5, we'll run a second road around, and then we'll come out another width, but I would like to check the size of the parking lots real quick, because we would want to place some parking for everyone, and we want to keep it off that main road that runs in front of the terminal, since we want to keep that area free of any traffic so that it's flowing. So it looks like 10 isn't going to be quite long enough, so we'll take it out just a little bit further. And again, you can kind of come up with your own design for this, but this one was pretty basic and it'll work. And looks like 6 units will work enough to get around the parking. And if you wanted to, you could add some more parking along here. Now in terms of getting our roads in place, I think we'll grab a 6-lane road. And again, if we just grab our terrain heights, which I always have to remember where it is in this game, switching back and forth. We'll bring this road over here, like so, and then we'll just give ourselves, ooh, okay. Maybe don't do it like that. Just use a little move it magic to save myself there. Oh, cities, okay. Oh man, what happened? All right, come out and move it. There we go. Make this raised. Come on, game. Ruining my tutorial. Okay, so let's grab a 3-lane one-way road, which is right here. And if we just use the curve road tool, we'll run that basically right into this road here. Then what we can do is we'll bring another one out and just sort of try and parallel it. Maybe using the freeform tool instead and snap into this guideline here. And then if we just round it around the corner, you can try and sort of nicely tuck it into the other side of this road here. So maybe we just come out at a 45 on that one. And then again, if you're playing modded, you can use a little node controller, try and clean this up how you like. And then we'll just get this road turned around so it's facing the right direction. And also, again, using some mods. Traffic manager, you can also use the lane connectors and kind of keep it separated, and then this will kind of be our circulation point, so people can, if they need to drive around and wait to find somebody, they can sort of come back through this way and keep going. So yeah, that's the basic road infrastructure out front. If you want to include public transit on the concourses, you can definitely do so. I think any sort of rapid transit is good, so we could maybe put a metro station in here as well, or even a train station, depending again on the size of airport that you want. It's up to you, but train station is pretty good. You'll get a lot of high capacity transit to and from, and yeah, it can be placed anywhere on the concourse. A few other infrastructure things you want to consider, again up to you where you want to place them, is we will need some fire services to have that around for any issues that may arise at the airport. As well, some airports do have their own police division, so we'll definitely include that here on the front. And medical, not really required, but could be available at the airport anyways for just in general overall health of anyone who maybe works here, or maybe they're a tenant of the airport. If they're paying rent maybe to the airport authority, that's also an option there. So finally, we'll look at the detailing do's and don'ts. So first thing you want to keep in mind is we want to keep this area around the runway clear. So if you're placing anything like trees, I would avoid that anywhere too close to the runway area. If you're also placing in a fence, definitely a good thing to have. You can leave it quite far away from everything. Like if we bring it out to here, this does leave space, you know, for quote-unquote expansion. Maybe later on the terminal gets expanded this way and they build more gates. So we'll do the same thing down on this side. I'll just keep it nice and far away, and the fence can run, you know, decently close, but not too close, if you know what I mean. And yeah, we'll get that nice and lined up over there. Also, in terms of other detailing, yeah, you know, mostly they're going to be open, flat areas, so it's hard to sort of detail inside any of these areas here. You can use the airport aprons if you like to try and maybe create your own custom taxiway. So if you take a little one maybe right here, and then I think probably not available for those who play unmodded, but you do have the taxiway lights available here as well. So if you come down into the single size, you can kind of space these out and place your own little taxiway lights, and then that can add a little bit of detail. If you're playing modded, you have some options of maybe finding some decals to go on top of there as well. But yeah, that is going to be the basics of the detailing. Anything else you want to add around the area, you know, you could definitely make it your own ideas. Some common things to have maybe would be industrial parks, commercial business. Maybe you want to do some shopping centers. There's a few airports out there that have luxury shopping available on the airport property. You also can consider placing the hotels to boost up not only the airport's rating, but also adds a bit of realism for people to stay, crew on layover, all that kind of stuff. So it's really up to you. Well, everyone, thank you for joining me today. I know this is maybe a bit quick and short, but I just wanted to really showcase that you can get yourself a fairly fully functioning airport quite easily built in Cities Skylines. And if you want to see some other airport guides or builds in different challenging spots, check out the other airport builds on my channel. The playlist is called See These Videos Take Off, and they're every sort of video that has to do with airports and aviation. But that'll do it for me today, so thanks so much for joining me, and we'll catch you in the next one. So take care. Bye-bye.